Welcome to.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Welcome to episode 4 of Fantasy
Do I go right now?
Friends. What's that?
Right now? Do I start right now?
Yeah, we're starting
Oh,
right
you
now.
are recording.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm literally recording right now.
Okay, open the show.
No, I just opened the show.
No, I interrupted you. You can't open the show. I interrupted you.
Welcome
Okay,
to.
do it over.
Here we go again. Do you need to get up and go cook or do anything else?
Hit record. Oh, wait. Go.
Welcome to episode 4 of Fantasy Friends.
Yeah.
I'm your host, slash co-host, slash hostess with the mostest, Magellan.
I'm the other guy that's on the show. My name is Akimbo Merck.
And yes, we haven't decided what we were going to call each other yet. We should just say, I'm Fantasy Friend Magellan, and this is Fantasy Friend Akimbo Merck.
Yeah, and today we're going to tell you what players you should be playing this Thursday for the NFL.
Here we go. Dun, 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 dun. I don't even know who's playing.
If you're here for that, you're here for the wrong show.
Get out.
But check it out. So
Get out.
I'm excited, brother. You know, I've been excited all day about recording this show, man.
Mhm.
So I'm going to kick it off. You know, I've been saving a lot for this week. You ain't even got to ask me what I've been saving. I'm just going to jump in and tell you. I'm going to start with Saturday. Okay, so Saturday was great. Some bad things happened. Some good things happened, but it was great.
Okay.
All right. So I'm gonna tell you about the good. The good was great coworker. I don't even know where to start with this story. I gotta go back in time.
Okay.
All right.
So you were born on, are we going that far back?
No, we're not gonna go that far back.
Okay.
Just 23 years. So when I started working at the job I'm at now, there was a lady at the job who had what I would kind of say a sharp tongue, right?
No,
And
please explain what a sharp tongue is for
a sharp
those
tongue
who don't know.
always saying little smart remarks, little quips and things like that.
So like
right?
you do whenever we're talking about Star Wars.
We're not talking about me right now. And if you really want to get into Star Wars, bro, and your lack of Star Wars love, we could do that. But we already did a podcast.
Yeah, you're right. So
all right?
You had a coworker 3 years ago, sharp tongue, go.
All right. And so, I had went back and forth about, should I really say something to her? You know, she's confessing to be a Christian. Should I say something? Should I not say something? Should I say something? Should I not say something? I didn't say anything. Let it go. Whatever. Mm-hmm. Lo and behold, we move into our new building, and I sit next to her right now.
You do. Yes, you do. Because that's how life goes.
Isn't that how that works, right?
Yeah.
Now, this is how amazing God is. I sit next to this person, and she is practically my best friend at work. Mm-hmm. We call each other cubicle buddies.
Yeah.
So
cubicle buddies. Yeah.
He wanted to say something about her sharp tongue to me, not saying anything at all. But, like I said, she's a Christian. I'm a Christian. I've talked about my faith before. Mm-hmm. But she is amazing to me. All right. Mm-hmm. So let me tell you why she's amazing. Because to me, Christianity is about the minute details of everyday life.
Yeah.
I think we've all seen the stories that come out around this time of the year where we see Moses parting the sea, and the Noah and the ark, and all those stories that we all grew up hearing.
Yeah.
And those are the big miracles.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the Christianity to me lies in the details and the everyday small miracles. So this my coworker and her friend were driving home one day, and they decided to stop and pick up this lady, because it was the dead of winter, I believe. And pick up this lady who was just standing out on the corner.
Okay.
Oh my God, who does that? I'm just gonna be honest.
Yeah.
Nobody does that. Nobody stops and picks up a stranger. But they said she was out there on the corner, in the middle of the winter. It was cold, and they were like, we just can't leave her out there. They picked this lady up, right? Pick her up, take her to where she was going, and they become friends.
Okay.
All right. Fast forward to probably about a month ago. month or
One
two.
month ago. Sorry.
All right, so this lady, they're inviting her. Her name is Donka, a Chinese lady,
Yeah.
speaks very broken English.
Yeah.
Okay, she came to the country. She's in her 50s. She came to the country,
Yeah.
married a man. He passed away
Okay.
probably about 3-4 months ago.
Okay.
Passed away. He was taking care of the house and the finances, and so bank decides before closing, you got to move out of your home. Now she lives in a fat crib, bro.
Yeah.
Fat crib out here. Um, but she's losing all of this, and she
Okay.
has all her family is in China still.
Yeah.
I mean, so she has nobody except the two ladies who picked her up that day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, anyway, they're helping her find a place to live.
Okay.
They'll help her do an estate sale. They're helping her do everything. And
Yeah.
I'm sitting back and I'm getting like daily reports of what they're doing, and not because this lady is asking to, because it's out of the goodness of their heart, right? And so I'm just totally blown away and amazed by what my coworker is doing for Donka. And it's like, gosh, this is what Christianity is all about to me.
Mm-hmm.
There's no financial benefit, I hate to say it that way, to them helping this lady find a place to live.
But you have to say that because most people, the first thing they go to is, hey, listen, I helped this person out and they didn't hook me up with,
Right. Exactly.
So
Right.
not too much on that subject, but continue, please.
Right. So they're having an estate sale. She has to sell all her furniture, all her stuff, because she has no place to put it.
Yeah.
The bank is coming to put that lock on the door, put that ugly sign on the window, because she can't afford the home no more.
Yeah.
So they did an estate sale, sold a lot of stuff. It went very successful. She had a couch that she couldn't sell. I said, well, if all they're going to do is throw this couch away, call her up, tell her I'll give her some money for it. It's not what it's worth, but it's what I can afford. And so basically I'm paying you for what's going to be trashed in the next day.
Yeah, of course. Anything's better than nothing.
Right. Cool. I go to pick it up this Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
I go to pick it up.
You're getting really giggly right now. Your giggly scale's going up.
Because this is where it gets good for me, at least. I got my oldest with me. He's 11. He's okay. I wasn't expecting him to be too much help in moving this furniture, right?
Of course.
But I needed him at least to do something.
Yeah.
So I can move this big old sectional couch, right?
Yeah.
I get there. First blessing is this couch is broken up. It probably sits about 7 people.
Okay.
I think it's probably a good number. It's a big couch.
Yeah.
It's a big sectional. But it's broken up into pieces. So I grab it. I'm like, oh, I can move this myself. So the first couple of pieces I'm able to move myself, load them in the back of my truck, boom, zip off to the house, come on back. My coworker's there with her husband and the friends. And I'm like, all right, I think I can get all of this, the rest of these pieces. I thought I was going to have to make 3 trips, but only had to make 2.
Yeah.
I can get them all in my truck. This is great. I tell my son, I said, hey, come on, help me move the bigger pieces, about the size of a love seat.
Yeah.
He can't do it. Man, I mean, without me even asking, her husband runs over and says, hey, I got it.
Yeah.
And him loads us into my truck, right?
Yeah.
And, we get all the pieces into my truck. I'm so excited because everything's working out and it's good. I slam the back of my truck down and I shatter my rear share window.
Oh,
Just shattered. It's all over the driveway.
Yeah.
And they're all like, oh, gasping. They're looking at me and they're expecting me to kind of like freak out. And I'm like, I have the biggest Kool-Aid smile on my face because no big deal.
Yeah.
No big deal because, one, I'm so excited that I was able to get this couch for my wife.
Yeah.
2, it's no big deal because I've broken this rear windshield before.
It's a normal thing. It happens.
I know the process of fixing it, so it's not like this is new to me.
Yeah.
And 3, my brother's my insurance agent. You know what I mean? So I'm not panicking at all. I was more upset that I had left all this glass in this lady's driveway. Now here's where the goodwill continues. The husband and another guy immediately, dude. I mean, just immediately grab a broom and a dustpan before I can even like take my next breath. They're already sweeping up the glass, and I'm sitting here just watching all of this.
Yeah.
And I'm loving it because it's so genuine.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? These are genuine people who, who got up on a Saturday to continue helping this lady, and they're just giving without expecting anything in return. So it's such a beautiful thing. I'm just excited to be participating and witnessing all of this.
Yeah.
I'm not even thinking about my window.
Yeah.
So
You're just excited to see people
being
doing
Christian.
doing something out of the goodness of their heart
Yes.
without
Yes.
worried about compensation, without doing it with a frown, without doing
Right.
it how most people will. Oh, well,
Right.
I don't want to get up. It's my day off, and I need to go help,
Yes.
her out. And instead,
Right.
everybody, I mean, you're doing it. You know why you're doing it, and you're staying
Right.
behind that. And
Right.
you're standing behind that. And dude, I'd be excited too to see, because you don't, and it sucks to say this, you don't see that often.
Hmm.
And it's very disappointing. It really is. It's disappointing to have for you. It's great that you experienced it, but it
Right.
kind of it shows a bigger picture that it's disappointing that you get excited over something like that whenever it should be going on a lot more on a bigger scale.
And I think it does, but usually when it happens on a bigger scale, it was kind of like what I said in the beginning. It's advertised, and we make a big deal out of it. But
Yeah.
here it was happening without any advertisement. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And so in a way, it kind of
It was pure. It wasn't
yeah, it
a
was so
news
pure,
story
bro.
in the making.
Yes, it was so pure because again, I know that I'm leaving bits and pieces out, but again, a lady from another country with broken English, struggling. She had no one,
Yeah.
but yet God provided for her, and I was able to witness that, and it was just an amazing thing, and it lit a fire in me. It made me want to go out and do whatever. But anyway, I broke my window, man. And no big deal. I called my brother, let him know what happened. He said, no big deal.
Yeah.
Even said, I've done it before too. So I'll get that fixed. But later on that day, um, the my car was on a flat. My wife's car had been on the flat for about a week. I called out roadside assistance. The guy came out and he broke the stud. While trying to change the flat, he broke the stud. But he made it seem like he just broke the bolt, like the bolt just rust. Not the stud. I'm sorry. He broke the stud, but he made it seem like the nut had rusted, and so he
Okay.
couldn't change the tire. So he broke one and quit, and told my wife and handed her the nut. Here, the nut is rusted. I can't fix it, and left.
Wow, that's a very awesome type guy.
Yeah. So I said, all right, well, I can't do anything until the weekend because by the time I get home, it's dark and I really need some light to get out here and really address this.
Yeah.
So couches moved. I'm in a good mood. I was like, all right, let me change a flat tire. No big deal. Get out there, man. I get the tire off and I see that the stud is broke.
Hmm.
And I'm like, oh man, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I have no idea how to fix this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's one thing to fix a flat, but how to replace a stud on a tire, I'm looking at this thing like, oh, I got to put this car in the shop and it's going to cost me X amount of dollars. I take a picture of it, send it to my stepdad. He said, no big deal. I'll be over after work.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Huh? and my stepdad's been working for Ford for, I don't know, 20 plus years, and before that he was working on cars, had a junkyard, and all. He knows everything about cars. I mean,
Yeah.
I think he's like the MacGyver of cars. Okay?
Yeah.
So I'm looking at this like, hey, I can't fix this. He comes over, and I promise you, it takes him probably less than 10 minutes to fix this.
Yeah.
He tells me, go get the stud, get some new bolts, some new nuts. Cool. He comes over, boop, 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 click, click, clack, click, 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 bzzz, bzzz. He said, all right, man, you all set. Just put the tire back on. And I'm standing there, dude, the whole time just holding the flashlight like, did this really just happen?
Yeah.
So, I put the tire back on and all was well. It was just a great Saturday, man. And so I didn't want to, you asked me how my day went.
Yeah.
I didn't want to share that with you because I wanted to
You don't
save
let
it
me.
for the show and just share a snapshot of what my faith looks like
Yeah.
or what our faith really should look like. And,
Yeah.
that's really it, man. I don't know. I'm excited about it. It's probably not the greatest story for y'all, but for me, in today's world, it's really excited to see people just sacrificing their time and their effort without looking for anything in return to help other people. And I got to experience that all day Saturday, and it was such a beautiful thing because it's just like I said, it lit a fire in me. It inspired me, and I hope this story somehow can inspire you guys, the listeners, as well. So,
Yeah.
what about you? What are you saving for the show?
Huh?
Yeah, you can't follow up to that. I lay it down.
No, man, it was a good weekend. It was last minute. I took Yasmin, my wife. Not Yasmin and my wife. Yasmin is my wife.
Okay, because I was like, wait, which wife is this? Because I know you're like an Arab prince, and you have like 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I took her and our 2 dogs to the mountains, and it was last minute. And we live in east, not even really east, not by the ocean, kind of central North Carolina. And so
Okay.
North Carolina is kind of elongated state, and so we had to drive out west to the mountains, and we stayed around a lake called Lake Lure. It was a town as well. And
Okay.
so we just went there, man. I went in kind of last minute, spontaneous. And that's why I love her so much, because she lets me be spontaneous. And not only lets me be spontaneous, but she goes along with it too. I don't know if it's just out of pure love, or it's the fact that you're not going to be able to, if I have my mindset on anything, you're not going to be able to to take that away from me. So she just kind of like is like, all right, whatever, we'll do it. So we get there, and it starts off with I'm not going to go too in detail, but it starts off basically of everybody's trying to go to the mountains. The fall, the leaves, it's beautiful.
Yes,
So the prices shoot up, just like if you're going to the beach, those prices shoot up in spring and summer. So the prices were way up there. Ended up shooting out emails to everybody. And so ended up getting a couple people back. No, it's not here. No, we don't lower the price. And I got one lady to say, yeah, we could do this for this cost. And so I was kind of wanting more, not because I was a type of person who, I'm not one of those guys. I understand that you get what you pay for. But at the same time, I'm trying to make her understand that, would you rather have 75% of this money that you would have got, would you rather have 75%?
I'm lost. You're doing math, and I'm lost.
Okay, A is the
Will
cabin.
there be a test at the end of the
B
podcast?
is Lake Lure. C is my relationship. D is the time that it took there. Multiply B by C. Add D. Divide it by 2. Are you with me? You're not ready?
Did you see my eyes glaze over? Did I tell you that I majored in engineering in college? Yet still my eyes glazed over.
So basically what I was getting at is, would you rather get the $560? Would you rather not? That's how much it costs for the weekend. Would you rather not get that? Or would you rather get a percentage of that? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So with her, that's what I was trying to convince her. Would you rather no one stay in this cabin and you make no money?
Right. I got you.
Or
now I'm on board.
Okay. Yeah. So A plus B divided. So that was good.
Alaska. The answer is Alaska.
Ding, ding, ding.
Right?
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, you tried to get a trick. You tried to trick me. I knew the answer. Alaska.
So it turned out that she didn't want to lower it. I thought, what would Merck do in this situation?
Yes.
So I did what I've never done before, and I pulled the veteran card.
Yes. Yes.
And so I was joking. I was like, she's already brought it down to me. She brought it down from $560. She took out a bunch of fees and threw it down to, it was like $350. And then I was like, okay. I was like, is there any way we could get at $300? That's where I kind of want to be at.
I love it, bro. I love it.
So, and then she was like, no, I can't do it. And I was like, all right. I was like, well, just tell me what the price is completely. And then this is me writing the email back. Tell me what it is, what the price is. Would it help at all if I told you I was a U.S. Army veteran? And I put in there,
Yeah.
just to kind of get my personality. I was like, just know I'm a very light-hearted and carefree person. To
Right.
just make her understand, I wasn't trying to do it in any type of way because your whatever your attitude is when you read those words, that's how it's going
Yes.
to come off.
Right.
So she didn't
Hmm.
see anything. And granted, this was Thursday. She didn't write me back. Friday, we were supposed to leave. Didn't hear from her. Called her back. Or I actually called her for the first time. Spoke to her and got a in the 2 or 3 minutes. Kind of threw my personality at her. And
Right.
she was like, "All right, well, I'll read the email, dude." She got back to me and she had me at $290
No, dude, that's
down
such a
from
blessing, man.
560 for a ridiculously nice cabin.
Yeah, yeah,
So
dude, that's almost 50% off, bro. You
yeah,
can't beat
man.
that, man.
And so that we got there, we got there late, relaxed. It was a super nice cabin. Got up. The whole point was me taking Yasmin to go take pictures. She really likes
Hmm.
photography, and I wanted her to see the mountains and the fall and the leaves. Just give her that background to work with. We
Right.
had fun doing that, even though sometimes I'm not a picture kind of guy when I'm not in the mood. So
Do you mean like you don't want to be photographed?
no, it's not that. It's just that like I don't want to sit there and take 5 hours of photos. Like any
So
guy,
you
really, I
don't want
think.
to waste time watching her take photos.
No, well, I don't want to be really a part of the whole thing at all.
You just don't like pictures at all.
Yeah, I just don't like being there and then saying, "Okay, do this, smile more, do
Your
that." And
personality is horrible. Go
so
ahead.
so we did that and it actually turned out good. Great. We found a great view that we worked with background. Went and I took her to a really nice place to eat that had kind of like more
Seats.
hipsterish type food, I guess you would
Hmm.
call it.
No. Wait. What the heck is hipsterish
Like,
type food?
kind of like black bean burgers.
Oh, we black bean burgers. This took it, sir. Go ahead, finish. I guess. Just know the next word you say could really, have a bearing on our friendship. Hipsterish food has to be black
Black bean.
bean burgers. You just can't be bean burgers.
No, because they're black beans. They're not just.
Oh, go ahead, finish.
So I
I don't know
took
any
her
black
there.
hippies, but go
That
ahead.
built up the momentum of awesomeness that day, and been wanting to zip line, and so I was like, well, let me just kind of pull this out of the hat and see where it goes. Turns out that there were two zip line courses around us, and one of them was amazing, where it
Hmm.
had like the fastest zip line in the country. Or I don't know if it's
Nice.
the fastest, or yeah, I believe it's the fastest. So, and on this particular one, it had 11 zip lines. It had 3 rappels where you sit in the harness and actually rappel down a tree. And then it had
Yes.
one skywalk where you kind of went tree to tree without the zip line. So we went, and it's like basically ropes and then a 2x4 that attaches two trees and you walk. So it's like kind of real wobbly.
I'm wondering which one of those is probably the scariest, the zip line or the tree walk. The rappel down wouldn't scare me as much because the way you're going to be harnessed, you're not going to really be able to look down. But like the zip line and the tree walk,
Yeah.
dude, I'm like my heart's shaking.
Yeah.
The entire time, and I saw the pictures of Yaz in the harness, and I was like, okay, she actually did this, dude. She's hardcore, bro. Now for you, I know your background. You could do this with your eyes closed. But when I
Yeah.
saw the pictures of Yaz, I'm like, yeah, she's a trooper, bro. That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, she had a blast, man, and it was super fun. Like we had two guys who were guiding. Basically, one had to zip line first, make sure everything's secure on the other side. Everyone
Hmm.
zip lines, and then the last guys, make sure everybody's hooked up and good, and then he follows. And those guys were awesome. They did a great job. We had fun with it. There was two key points in that. One of the zip lines, you got as fast as 39 miles an hour.
That's fast.
Yeah, and so you're zip lining, and
Yeah.
you're talking. This isn't regular hill courses. We're talking mountains. Like you're in gorges and over valleys. And there was another point too where the guy was like, "All right, this is 200 and I think 10 feet is what he said from the zip line to the bottom of the ground." And he's like, to put that in perspective, he's like the Empire State Building, I think it's 220 feet or so,
Okay.
whatever the case. And he was like, so imagine from this part of the when you get at the middle of the zip line and you look down, that's about as tall as the Empire State Building of how
That's
far you are.
crazy.
And so, dude, you're zip lining and you're looking, and the view
Right.
is what it is. And even when you're waiting on people to get on the zip line and go, the platforms you're on, you're already 50, 100 feet above the ground. And so it's just amazing view to even stand there in trees, you
Okay,
know,
so
and
let me ask you a question and
yeah,
be honest. You can tell. I'll be honest. Nobody's listening.
I did
Just
pee
me and
myself
you.
a little bit.
Yeah,
Yes.
I knew you did, dude. Did you pee like a little bit,
It
bro? Not like
trickled.
yeah, no, not a trickle. It's probably like a squirt more than anything. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like halfway through, you're holding it. You know, you're
No.
squeezing your butt cheeks, and then a little. Yeah, yeah. I know you did. I just wanted to confirm it. I know you did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, it was good, man. Because what a lot of people don't know is, they do know I've jumped out of planes. If they ask me, that's what I did. I was airborne. I was a paratrooper in the military.
Oh, now.
So I did jump out of planes. But what people don't know is I don't like heights at all. I hate heights.
You do realize the two of those just do not go
They
together,
don't.
right?
And I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the challenge of it that kind of
Right,
gets me over that fear. But
right.
even when we did that zip line, man, I had I never thought of anything. It's that first platform, you're kind of looking down, staying back. But I think I'm kind of breaking the height thing. And someone explained it really good. They said, listen, you're afraid of heights because you're afraid of your own actions. If you completely trust yourself when you're on the side of a building or looking down and you know you're not going to throw yourself off, then that
Hmm.
trust, you'll build that trust up and you'll build that. And that's what I think I'm getting. I think I'm getting over the scared of heights right now.
Right.
But we did that, dude. It was awesome. It was like 3.5 hours of zip lining and doing these courses, and it was phenomenal. Ate at another great restaurant, went to the cabin, had a good sleep, came back, and it was just a fantastic weekend, and it was cool because it was just so spur of the moment. It's not like we
Right.
planned it.
Right.
But that's kind of what I'm not really saved for the show, but because you kept shutting me out of your life this weekend for your
Well, I
story.
mean, I didn't sneak off to a cabin in the mountains to take pictures
You kept,
of myself being afraid of heights. So who's really to blame here?
yeah,
I had a great weekend.
yeah. But yeah,
No, man,
man.
that's a great story, man. I sounds like you had a really good time, man. This is a good point to take a break, and then
Mhm.
let's get back into what our topic of today's show is going to be, and it's going to be.
This generation, our generation
Mm-hmm.
versus the new generation.
Okay, so
Generation
what's
X versus
right?
Generation Y. Who has it easier? What are the differences? We're going to get into basically everything about this, how we grew up and how we're coming up versus how these younger cats and these younger generations are growing up, and the difficulties, the differences. And we actually had a really good episode that we talked about that wasn't recorded, that was over the phone. So,
Yeah,
and then we
yeah, it
thought
was.
I know we're both excited about it. But yeah, we're gonna get into that right after the break. Don't go anywhere.
Chips are so good.
Dude, those look good. I'm actually really hungry right now.
Me cool. Oh wait a minute, that's what I'm eating.
What'd you end up cooking?
I just stopped and got a pizza to put up with.
So you weren't even cooking. What were you doing? You're playing
Washing
video
dishes,
games.
cleaning up.
Whatever. I'm gonna go look at your PSN history right now. And it's gonna tell me you were on playing Metal Gear, wasn't it? Don't lie to me.
All right, hey, so welcome back to the show. Chris decided to start talking about the topic without you
No,
guys,
I
but
didn't. No, I didn't.
I said yes, you did.
No, I
I
didn't.
say yes, you did.
No, I
Stop
didn't.
lying.
I didn't.
Stop lying.
I didn't.
So today we're going to talk about Generation Y versus Generation X. Now we're Generation X. Okay,
Yeah. We
I
would
want
be.
to get that clear,
I
right?
think we're kind of in the middle. I think Generation X is maybe a little bit further.
Can't be both. We can't be both and then talk about this. You got to pick a side.
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Okay, we're Generation X.
Thank you. Generation Y being today's generation. And by today's generation, we were talking about the high school kids and the kids, and
College,
the
high
college
school,
kids,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. So we'll look at that. So basically, what we'll do is look at how we were raised when we were in high school and college versus high school and college kids today, and just their outlook on the world.
Hmm.
Versus our outlook on the world, because this is what we were talking about on Monday, right? When it got kind of intense for me, at least,
Yeah,
because one, I was surprised on how much we disagreed,
yeah.
um but at the same time I was excited as to kind of where the conversation was going, because you got into kind of my uh conspiracy theory area, and that always excites me. So if you
Which,
don't know,
if you
guys,
guys don't know, he loves that stuff.
I love that stuff, and I love conspiracy theory, conspiracy analyzation, I guess is probably the word I shouldn't use, but
Here we
I love it
go.
because
I
to
got a
it,
degree in engineering, and now I'm using big words. My name's
um,
Akimbo Merck. Oh my gosh.
I was in the army and I went ziplining. I'm trying to relive it, I'm making my wife risk her life. I'm just saying. You made me lose my point, but
No, you were saying conspiracy theory analyzation.
yeah. So we kind of got off into that. And I think a lot of it has to do with we kind of bumped up against what happened Friday in Paris, and and shout out to Paris and everybody that's suffering right now through that. We definitely talked about that, and you guys were on our mind this weekend. But let's get into this, man. What do you have? What do you want to talk about first? Because I think what we were talking about Monday was the expectations this generation has versus our expectations when it comes to employment. Do you want to start there?
Yeah, we could start there, or we could
Okay.
start kind of. How about we do it this way? How about we do it kind of as you grow up from
Okay. What
parenting
age?
those kids to
Okay.
those kids in school to those kids getting out of school to employment. How about we do that way, like a timeline?
Okay. Cool.
So
Go.
so for, so are we going?
Just clearing his throat. We're on and action.
Okay. And what was it? What were we talking about?
Jesus, this is a live podcast that we're recording.
So the first thing is kind of parenting, I guess it would be like how did we grow up versus how did they grow up? Because and that was kind of what spurred this whole conversation and this whole podcast episode, which kind of happened because of what you mentioned last, which was we could go out in the neighborhood and
Mm-hmm.
we could go out there forever and our parents wouldn't even be around and they
Yes.
wouldn't think anything bad because the neighbors around, the neighborhood kids are around. I don't
Yes.
care if it's midnight. My kids are in the neighborhood, they're safe.
Yeah, that's what I alluded to in the last podcast, that I can remember being out with my friends 11, 12 o'clock at night. It was a block party
Yeah.
going on. And as long as you were hearing music and kind of seeing the smell of the barbecue smoke, it was still going on. You felt safe. You were in and out of everybody's house on the block in a sense if they had kids. Today, I won't even let my kid spend a night at somebody's house. And not only that, I won't let anybody else's kid come and stay at my house.
Yeah.
So that's a flip flop to me
Yeah.
in my opinion of uh this generation's versus our generation.
Yeah, and
You know,
why is that? Why do you think it was like that for you, and why do you now for a fact as a parent why you do that for your kids, but why the difference? Why do you
the
think
big
your
without
parents
question,
did
it's
that to where
yeah,
you do now?
without question, it's got to be fear.
Mhm.
We were fearless growing up, and our parents, they pushed us to be fearless.
Yeah.
Ride on the back of a pickup truck, on the wheel well of a pickup truck. Do you remember doing that as a kid?
Yeah.
I mean, literally riding on it, and if you hit a rock, you could
You
bounce
can
out
bounce out. Yeah.
and be done, dude. And be done. Now today, you can't do that anymore. You can't even ride in the back of a pickup truck. It's honestly, it's illegal. And if the cops don't stop and pull you over, it's because they were reliving when it wasn't it wasn't illegal to do
Absolutely.
it somewhere. So they're kind of giving you a break. But we were raised to be fearless. We were raised. There was this mentality that I think, and I could be completely wrong. I think that bled over from World War One, World War Two, Vietnam. That kind of bled over to you had to be tough. You had to be able to stand up for yourself in this world.
Yeah.
You know, my parent. I am one of four boys, and I got
Hmm.
one sister. So we were raised to be tough. You were raised to have tough skin. You don't cry when you fall and hurt yourself. You get up, you dust it off. You could break your leg playing football, and you could walk, and they'll tell you, hey, just walk it off. You know what I mean? That's the kind of the mentality, this walk it off mentality that we grew up with. So
Yeah.
your kid being out, 10, 11 o'clock at night, it was no big deal. You wanted them to kind of be tough, but at the same time too, there was more of a it takes a village to raise a child mentality that I don't think we have today.
Yeah.
I think today's mentality is parents are more protective. The government is kind of playing that big brother role, and kind of devising programs and stuff like that to almost replace the parents.
Yeah.
Um, does that make sense? Am I kind of going down the right path? That it's too much safety. You called it the bubble wrap
The
generation. I
bubble
think
wrap generation.
yeah, it's kind of a bubble wrap generation, and I gotta admit, I'm kind of drinking the Kool-Aid for it because I can remember my wife saying, "Hey, my oldest wants to go to the park," and I'm like, "It's a 5-minute walk from here," but I'm like, "Dude, no way, I'm letting him walk down to the park by himself."
Okay. Okay. And right there.
Yeah.
Why do you think that? Why won't you let him? Because
Um.
right now I'm trying to crack open the shell of why has that mentality changed, which you
Right.
explain, hey, kind of the wars and that mentality, and that's so why isn't there that village mentality where everybody's protected in their neighborhood now? Why is it now you won't even let your kid go 5 minutes, if that, a 5 minute walk as an 11-year-old, which would probably take us 2 minutes as an adult, and you could
Yeah.
probably see the park.
Right. So here's why I don't do it. One, I know of my neighbors,
Okay.
but I don't know them.
Okay.
I don't know. I think I don't know. I want to say that I think at the root of this is information overload.
Okay.
So nowadays, man, you can punch up your neighborhood and see where every pedophile lives.
Yes.
You just can. Growing up, ignorance was bliss. You didn't know if your neighbor was a pedophile, and if he was, everybody kind of talked about it, and you knew to stay away from the house with the red door on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You walk on the other side of the street of it.
Yeah.
But nowadays, it's almost information overload to the point that it's a good thing that we have knowledge of some things, but it also means that now I make decisions based on fear.
Yeah.
Well, I could get on my bike and ride around
I
my
love
neighborhood as a kid. Now I won't even let my kid go past the third tree that's on my street because I'm afraid that, something's going to happen to him. So that's kind of, I guess fear has a big part of the decisions that we make today. We were more fearless back then.
Yeah. So that being said, which we're the shell's open and now we're getting the skin off of the nut inside.
No, I
Next
don't.
question is, why do you have that fear? Is it strictly because information is there? Because what I think it is and what I feel it is that it is because kind of piggybacking off you, information is there. And with
Yes.
information, you have 24/7 news channels
Oh, yes.
and the media is there. And then you
And,
have this, you build this up. And then on top of that, you can punch in and say, oh, well, no, there's a pedophile literally on the way to the park. No way I'm
exactly.
having my kid go through there.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
and so
Yeah.
that and then the shows that are on
Right.
television now, so many
Right.
television shows that go into that, the CSI stuff where kids are
Hmm.
getting taken, and these different things happen, and that starts driving those gears in your head and say, man, well, a lot of the stuff I see, I mean, this stuff could happen, right? And it kind of builds that fear up.
It does. I mean, you mentioned the news. the news, the 24-hour news cycle plays a big part in our mindset in this country. But just your evening news, which really ain't the evening news. The news used to come on once a day, people. It used to come on at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, and that's when you got your news about what happened that day in the weather. Now it's on at 6, 4, 5, 6, 7 on just your local stations. I'm not even talking about the CNNs, the MSNBCs, and the news network and all that. It's a constant bombardment of bad things happening.
Yeah.
So I think bad things were happening when we were kids growing up, but we were ignorant to it. As part of that ignorance, there was this level of bliss that we enjoyed. Because let's just be honest, yeah, you heard about kids disappearing. We read, we went through the generation where kids showed up on your milk jug. You heard about this stuff, but you didn't hear about it. You weren't afraid of it.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I think of it.
Okay.
I just wasn't afraid of getting kidnapped. I wasn't afraid of being showing up on a milk jug. I just wasn't afraid of these things.
Yeah.
Today they have taught us to be afraid, and I think that goes into the big brother mentality that the government now has. So 50s, 60s, 70s, you went from where it was okay to kind of beat your kid and be a little bit hard and rough on your kid because, again, you're trying to teach him to be a man. You're trying to teach him to walk off the tough problems to, okay, now we need to protect these kids because, wait, I grew up, my parents beat me. I don't want my kids getting beat. I'm not going to treat my kids like that. I don't want anybody else's kids being treated like that. So I'm going to wrap them in bubble wrap. So you had all these experts, quote unquote experts now in your schools, in your churches, in your government that start designing all these programs to protect and help the abused. And now, yes, we need these programs.
Yeah.
Right. But Monday, what did you say? What did they do? They overshot the runway, right?
Yeah, I believe I know they did because it does help those, and I love that program. It does help those kids, but you have more people abusing that child protective service. You have these kids who are abusing it because they aren't, because it's there now and it's available and it's something that all they have to do is call. And some kids you do, there's a lot of kids don't use it, but you do know and hear of these kids who do use it because they don't like their parents when they do finally put their hands on them.
There it is.
They don't have that, what we kind of had, which is that, when my dad put his hands on me and the belt on me, it's because I deserved it and it's my discipline and that's my punishment.
And that's what we talked about Monday. I said, there wasn't a spanking that I got that I can't remember not deserving.
Yeah, exactly.
And the flip side of that is I've never been inside of a police car. I've never been inside of a jail. Yeah. And so there was a good balance of my home of here's a spanking, here's a reason why, you know what I mean? And for me, it wasn't abuse, but for some people, it went overboard.
Yeah.
You heard about the kid, the whispers about the kid who got abused or the wife who was being abused. And so I think, like I said, the government had to come in and do something. We needed to have programs in place to help these people. We needed them to have safe outlets because, one of the movies I remember as a kid that always sticks with me is The Burning Bed. Do you remember that movie with I think Farrah Fawcett in it?
Yep, absolutely.
So for guys who don't know what The Burning Bed is, basically you had a husband who was drunk and was abusing his wife and his kids, and one time she got fed up, set the bed on fire while he was in it, and she was out.
Yeah.
And probably the experts can tell us, that probably sparked off a lot of what we see today and this bubble wrap generation. Yeah. But to kind of go with what you were saying, now that these kids have these outlets, and we know that some kids will actually abuse it. You hear about parents being arrested, for spanking their kid. You hear about people calling the police because a child got a spanking in Walmart's parking lot. Who probably deserved it. You hear about kids suing their parents because I can't remember what it was, because the girl couldn't get an iPhone or couldn't get a new car. It was something ridiculous where kids said, "Hey, I can work the system," and the government says, "Wait a minute, we're stuck because if we don't react to this, we go back to saying it's okay to abuse your kid or your spouse."
Yeah.
But if we do react to this, we're further empowering these kids to take advantage of the system. And it's almost like with anything, like with welfare.
Yeah.
People need welfare, but you also have people who abuse welfare.
Mm-hmm.
So what I think is lacking is a balance.
Okay.
And I think even for me, and God bless my wife, she brought back balance into my fear of my kid going outside and just
Yeah.
playing. She had to remind me, hey, it's just down the street.
And I'm glad. I'm
You,
glad, and that's what I was waiting for you to boomerang back to, because
yeah,
I
yeah,
know we delve into discipline a little bit, and that's what you're getting. But I wanted you to bring back up fear, because some of the stuff that I was looking into, researching into,
okay.
some of
Tell
it
me about.
is some of it is valid,
Mm-hmm.
because nowadays you have a lot of, which wasn't back in the day for a lot of homes, for the average family.
Right.
You have more dual income homes, which means less
Yes.
adults and parents around those neighborhoods.
Yes.
Before, it was Mr. Johnson's working all the time. Miss Johnson's always home.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's always, there was always someone in every other house. So there's always
Watching out.
eyes out there.
Right. I
And
agree.
so that mentality is okay. Well, now a lot of people are working, a lot of kids are out there, and they just, that sense of security isn't there anymore, because you could walk down the street and you might see a car in a neighborhood or a house or not, but you don't know who's there and who's not anymore.
Hmm.
And
Let me jump in here. I live on the block where we're around the corner from the high school, and then the junior high school is on my block. So here's what I see on the days that I'm off. Here's what I see every day at 3 o'clock. I see a herd of kids walking past my house.
yeah,
Now here's a reality for parents who get up and work from 8 to 5, 7 to 4:30. Their kids are at home 2, 3 hours by themselves
yes,
without any supervision or any adult supervision at all.
yeah,
Because what we've done, we've gotten rid of a lot of the after school programs, right?
yep,
To save money. We don't have, it's a budget crisis, quote
mm-hmm,
unquote. And grandma's not there anymore, right?
yeah,
Let's talk about why grandma's not there anymore. Grandma's not there anymore because grandma is only 40 years old, 50 years old. She's still working. When
yeah.
we were growing up, our grandmas were retired. They're
Yeah,
in the retirement
they were
age.
60. They were
Yeah,
55, 60. They were retired.
yeah. Miss Johnson was retirement age, so of course she was at home working in the yard, or at home looking out of the window, or at home with the front door open. So that plays a big part in it too. And I just
Yeah.
wanted to kind of jump in there and make that point.
No, and just tying up the fear,
Mm-hmm.
which is there, and that's what drives a lot of us. What we used to do and go out and play in the street until the street lights came on and do whatever we want
Yes.
and then disappear and
Streetlight
come back.
kids. Right.
The fear now is that there's not that many adults around because they're working, so I don't have that sense of someone's always going to be there kind of watching over the kids in the neighborhood, my kid. And then you
Right.
have that tied into 24/7 news channel, then you have CSI, Law and Order, then you have all these shows that depict all this stuff that can happen.
Mm-hmm.
And the society is kind of building up to that. Oh man, it can happen. There's not this out there, and I'm seeing this on TV. This is happening in the news to other people. On top of that, drugs are more available than they used to be. A lot.
Drugs are more available than they used to be.
There are, let's say it this way, there are different avenues of drugs than there used to be out there. It's not just about just pot. It's not just about, now it's about pot, pills, what do they call it when you're like huffing
Huffing.
yeah, huffing.
Yeah.
You
Right.
got, kids who are finding these ways to, what is it with the keyboard cleaners?
Yeah.
Using
I know what you're
those.
talking
You
about.
have,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you have all these
Can
different,
air.
and then just
Yeah.
pills alone, you have uppers and downers. You have all these pills that make you
Can
feel,
Can I say that I somewhat disagree with this statement, and
okay.
I say I somewhat disagree with this statement because I can remember being in junior high school doing a science project, and one of the and I copied. My mom was a nurse at the time, and she
Yeah.
had to do a project or was studying to be a nurse, and she had to do a report on street drugs, and I copied her report and on street drugs from my science project.
Okay.
Learned a lot about the drugs that you mentioned now, whether the name has changed or not, were available back then. And so we're talking in the 80s, right? So I
So
don't think
were
that
they
drugs.
as widely as available?
I think they were. I
Did
think
your
not.
best friend have them?
I think they are advertised more now.
Okay.
I think they're more socially acceptable now.
Okay.
I still think they were available right back then. Right now, drugs are cool. It's in our music. It's in our movies. It's on our
Yeah.
TV. Doing drugs right now for this generation is a cool thing. It's no big deal. Back then, drugs were looked down upon.
Yeah.
Even pot was criminalized to an extent that we know pot really doesn't do too much to you, but it was criminalized back then.
Yeah.
More than it is now. Today it's celebrated, and I think that's the big difference. Do I think that it is more available? Maybe. But I think it's more advertised and more socially acceptable today than it was back then.
Okay. And so would you agree with the statement that because it's more advertised that it would be more available?
No. I think that kids that were smoking pot in high school today are no different than kids who were smoking pot in high school back when we were growing up.
Okay.
I just believe that. I don't think there's a difference.
Okay.
Because I can remember people in my school.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
And that's one of the articles I pulled out is because, there are statistics that it is easier to find drugs than it was back in the day. More people have avenues to get drugs than it is for that one guy, Steve, down the block who you knew had it, but he didn't trust anybody but who was close to him.
Right. Well, again, that goes with the war on drugs, the fake war on drugs that took place, the 24-hour news cycle.
Yeah.
Constantly reporting on drug crimes.
Yeah.
But let's not get it twisted. Drugs were available back then.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with that. Then on top of that, one of the other things to tie up fear is, and this is just based on a couple articles that I pulled together, is that, the world and kind of what's on TV and how everything is, it's highly sexualized than it used to be.
Yeah.
So that fear that parents have, that our parents didn't really have to deal with too much.
Right.
I think this, with everything that's out there, with let's just say the drugs and the music and the movies, with everything sex sells all over the place, on top of you seeing kids on these news sites from other things getting kidnapped and all these stories that are coming out and the media hyping up, which is not hyping up. I understand kids, when things happen, it's bad. But, Timmy, if the Kardashians aren't doing something spectacular,
right,
then Timmy's getting on the news. If they are doing something, Timmy gets lost in the sauce.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And now you got more news that's out there that is less dedicated to entertainment, more dedicated. You have multiple news that people dive into. Like you said, even local. So I think all that kind of sums up now versus then, kind of that parenting aspect, that fear that's there that wasn't that parents weren't really thinking about back then.
You mentioned that we're more sexual today, maybe than we were back then, and I understand it. I think it kind of falls in line with what I said about drugs, because it's almost accessibility. So, and that has to go, and then this really has to do with the advent of technology, right? Okay, because back then, if you wanted to see a naked girl, you had to go and get a dirty magazine from your brother's, stash, right?
Yeah, Trigger Rick stash.
Yeah, from Trigger Rick stash, right? Actually, it was the other brother who had a stash. Not Trigger Rick.
Let's see. So one down. There was 4 boys, you said? Let's see.
Now, today, you get on your phone.
Boom.
You can get on your PlayStation.
Yeah.
You get it on your laptop.
Yep.
You get on your iPad. It's more accessible, and it's a click away. And I think technology is the biggest difference between our generation and today's generation. And I think technology is having the biggest impact on the mentality of Generation X versus Generation Y.
Yeah.
Let's take a break, come back.
Two-part this week, correct?
Yes, sorry.
Okay, sorry.
Yes.
No, it looked like you fell asleep.
I, what?
So,
Yeah.
so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna jump into technology right now, but we're gonna do it on the second part. So go ahead and open up your browser, move to part 2 of the Generation X versus Generation Y, and we'll get started on that.
Can I eat chips while they're doing that?
No, you can't eat chips.
Oh, it's very disappointing.